Are Nigerian youths ready? Like, are we ever serious for once? Because the first time we ever tried to be serious, it looks like it was the same youths that were used to still fight against it. And that was during the EndSARS protest. Now, I'll get to that. You may be talking about tribal bigotry, and then when you go on social media now, you see that almost every day by day, that is one thing that keeps trending. When the Igbos will say that the Yorubas and the Hausas are this, the Yorubas, on the other hand, will say that the Igbos are this, the Hausas will come out and say that the Igbos and the Yorubas are this. And this fight has continued over and over and over again. Remember that currently Nigeria is facing one of its worst economic crises, like even to the extent that has never been felt before, to the point that if you see pepper of 500 naira, it's looking like pepper that ordinarily should have been dashed to you by somebody prior to this time. Pepper that does not worth anything. And then all the Nigerian youth can ever think about is trying to maintain their composure, trending bigotry, spreading hate from one time to the other. Now, this brings me to the question: when are we going to start talking about the real issue? When are we going to start talking about taking Nigeria from where it is to that promised land that we think we will ever get to? Now, if I may ask, you might come up with that excuse that Nigeria is because we have so many tribes, because we are the most populated black country in Africa. But come to think of it, just like the way we mentioned Igbo, Hausa, and Yoruba, the Kenyan people also have the Kikuyu tribe, they also have the Kalenji tribe, they also have the Luya tribe, they also have the Luo and also the Kamba tribe, amongst others that are not being mentioned. But still, as it pertains to the matter they are facing now, none of the youths are coming to say, I am Yoruba or Igbo. Nobody is coming to say, I am from here or from here. They've all thrown that aside. And then they are out on the street fighting the common worm that they believe is killing their nation. A bill that they think that there is a hike in this, there is a percentage hike. Tell me, over the last 8 years, do you know how many percent that, like, based on what you've been buying, do you know the percentage of increment has been done on things that we buy on daily? Even to the extent that even our local goods, things that our cash crops, has now become like luxury, to the point that even Gary, a mudu of Gary currently is worth over 1,000 naira, if I'm not mistaken. And then we are not doing anything about it. It's as if we are okay. It's as if we still want to maintain our composure, and still, it's as if me being an Igbo guy or me being a Yoruba guy is more important than our lives as Nigerians. You believe your tribe is the greatest. Yes, at the end of the day, does your tribe feed you? No. You being an Igbo or an outside guy, does it feed you? No. They are coming to buy our land. That is the topic you will be discussing today. Tomorrow, you come to say another, and next tomorrow. And do you know the worst thing itself that even annoys me the most is that in this same Nigeria, we will say that this is what we want to do. The same youths will be the one to fight against it. Now, I'll give you a case. Like in 2020 rather, during the EndSARS protest, when the EndSARS movement started. Now, so many things played out. If you are very conversant with that scenario, from my own point of view, I will tell you either one or two things that actually made it a failed movement. That would have been one of the first and the most successful movements that could have happened to this country. But so many things failed it. And one of those things that I think that failed it is still the Nigerian youth. The same supposed youth who will tomorrow grow up to have kids. They are the same people who were still used as instruments by the political class to shut it down. And then these same youths are still all over social media spreading hate against which people? Against the same youths. Now, back then in 2020, when the um, hashtag EndSARS was trending, some people wanted to give it a face. They wanted to come out and say, we are the people that started the hashtag. So because of that, we started this movement. But unfortunately, it was like a wildfire that didn't know, that nobody could actually trace that this is where this thing was coming from. As of that point, these men became aggressive. They felt that they were not getting the credit that they needed. And let me be honest with you, from my own point of view, I will tell you that it was all born out of political selfishness, because these guys, they had intent of flaunting themselves as people that started the movement, so that in the course of it, they will use it to score some political goals. But unluckily for them, when they wanted to surface, they didn't allow them, because the things that they knew prior to this time that they were trying to use as a medium to bring people in, so that when they achieve it, they will be able to, take themselves to that height. They saw that it wasn't forthcoming. What the government decided to use was to use them now as the weak links. Yes, because they were now trying to say that they were the one that did this, that they were the forces that the EndSARS movement went way above that. Yoruba guys came out, Igbo guys came out, people from the north, south came out, except people from the core north that decided to distance themselves from the whole protest, where they believed that protest was a haram, that it was against their religion. That is no problem. Remember, when hunger comes, it doesn't know who is who. And remember, these men, no matter how bad Nigeria gets, they must always feed. Most of their children are not even in Nigeria. They don't even know what the naira looks like. They are all spending in pounds and dollars. And that is all they care. They've made money. They are all in Swiss bank, chilling. So even if they are no longer in Nigeria, none of their generations are going to have a feel of it. But we are all here together. Now, during that point, these guys, they looked at it and they thought about this plan. How do we quench this fire, this volcano that is about to rave through the nation? Because if we don't do that, these guys are going to become untamable. So all they needed to do was to start planting things. They now went for some of these guys that were projecting themselves as the should I call them the starters, or the head that believed that they started the EndSARS movement. The government now bought them over, because that is they've been looking for that attention. The government bought them over. Now, what they now did, the same people that were supposed to be out on the street protesting against the same EndSARS were now the people that were now being paid to write all form of articles and rubbish against the EndSARS movement. While they were writing, it was as if it wasn't okay. They now thought about their plan B. What was their plan B? To plant moles, to plant figures, to cause chaos, to cause some form of anarchy, so that they'll be able to nail it legally that this is what the EndSARS protesters are doing. But they already know it in their spirit, soul, and body that nothing about the EndSARS was ever chaotic. It was well organized from the east to the west to the south. It was all organized. We had the Muslims, we had the Christians, we had some that were Hausas, we had the Igbos, we had people from the mother tribe, we had the Gbagis, we had people from different parts of Nigeria, no matter their tribe, no matter their tongue. When it was time for the Jumat prayer, they sat together and they prayed. When it was time for the service, they conducted their services there, and they did everything in one accord. Not until these people decided to play God. Not until they decided to play God. And what did they do? They decided to use the method that God used during the days of the Tower of Babel to cause confusion. And all they needed was to bring in tribe, tongues. How do we separate this from this? How do we bring these people? How do we take them from here? Because they know that is one of the weak links they can use to tear them apart, so that when they mention Igbos, the Igbos will be able to say, yes, this is us. When they mention the Yorubas, they will say, yes, this is us. When they mention this, they will say, this is us. That was when they decided to now term it an Igbo protest, all in the name of scattering that movement. As if that was not enough, they decided to still use the same youths, went borrowed touts from motor parks, borrowed some of these never-do-well guys, They were all youths, the same youth who are still facing the same challenge. These people they used, none of their children were found anywhere the ground. They used the same youths. They came. We saw videos. It was very evident. During the EndSARS protest, we saw government Prados, government vehicles with government plate numbers used by the touts to come and scatter so many things. They started going for government establishment, government properties, and all these were things they needed so that they would be able to crown it that it was chaotic and that these things were done by the EndSARS. It was a tactic to dismantle the EndSARS movement, which they did. And that was when they swung into action and they went to the Lekki toll gate and they killed people. They opened fire on them. These were harmless youths, without guns, without weapons, without anything. Put off the lights and then started shooting sporadically. Those people that were able to capture it, what did they do? They came after them. That was when some of them had to run for their lives. They became refuge in another man's land because they know that once this government finds out for exposing them, they are going to kill them. Who were the same people that were used to fight against these same people or right against them? Still the same youths. We are not yet serious. That is why I say we are not yet serious. The Kenyans have taken away the emblem of being a Kuki boy or being a Luo or Kamba boy. They've taken it away, and then they are on the streets to fight against what is fighting them. This one, we are even talking about 2% increment on whatsoever. And then Nigeria here, we are even talking about over 800%. Yes. A pepper of 50 naira is now being sold for 500. In fact, if you even see it for 500, that means you are blessed. Rather than fight against these common enemies, all we want to point out is Igbo being Yoruba, being Hausa. Till when are we going to do this? Is this the legacy we are going to pass over to our children? Remember, these men, they are already old. A time shall come, they will fizzle away. What then will be left of you to pass across to your children? That is the question you need to ask yourself. Will you continue on social media like this? An Igbo man is not your problem. A Yoruba man is not your problem. Till tomorrow, he is not your problem. Your problem is the government. The problem you have is the politicians that you have, that you've sent over to Abuja, that are there amassing wealth for themselves, coming back to your land, doing their land grabbing, building houses all around, causing all form of inflation and making life unbearable for you. Those are the people you are supposed to fight against. Those are the people who you are supposed to see as your common enemy. But no, you will rather come and talk about the Yoruba, talk about how your tribe is greater than the other. That should not be your problem. That should be the least of your problem. None of these things matters. At the end of the day, do you go to bed satisfied? You go with hunger. Let us better take a cue, if not for any other thing. Nigeria got independence in 1960. Kenya got independent, I think, in 1962 or 1963. 1963, if I'm not mistaken. But here they are. In terms of development, we do not stand them. Both economically, socially. You're even talking about South Africa that we knew. I think 1991 when they got their independence. What do you think were responsible for those for the attainment of their independence from apartheid? It was their youths. They paid with their blood. They paid with their lives. When they want to protest, they protest. Yes. And that is why they are very strong today. Now you are talking about xenophobic attack. Some of the proponents, as in people who are fighting against foreigners, when they want to tell you, they will tell you that you are coming into our country to take over our country. And the reason is because you have left your bad government and then you come here to come and inconvenience us, that you should go back to your country. Go back to your country and make your country great. Fight against them, that we have fought against ours. And then you now want to come. Though they are lame excuses. But that being said, it is high time we start thinking outside the box. It's high time we start taking charge of ourselves. Taking charge, forgetting that we are Yorubas. For we to make any headway, we need to throw away our differences. During the EndSARS, that was one thing that made it stood then, not until the government came in. The reason was because we threw away our Igbo identity, we threw away our Yoruba identity, we threw away our Hausa identity, and we all came as one, under one umbrella. That was one force that the government couldn't reckon with. that they had to now bring a way to divide. And that was why at the end of the day, all they needed was to say that this thing were done by IPOB. Look at it. They said that it was done by the Igbos. All they needed. And then the same you who came out during the EndSARS, who came out under the sun and under the rain to fight against it, now join them to say that yes, so that we are. Why? Until we have sense, let's try as much as possible. Let's start falling back on track. Let's start taking charge of our life once again. Let's start learning from places that we've failed and see how to make this country move forward. If Nigeria will move forward, it is not these old men. They don't send anybody. This is the Nigerian youth. The earlier we take away tribe, religion, and our identity from it, the better for us. We cannot be having a protest and then another set of youths are being given 2-5 to come and counter protest. Like, where is that done? We are fighting against bad government and then you see some youth carrying banner. We stand with the government. Hello? Does that even make you a serious person in the first place? Like, where in the world is it done? Senegal has achieved what they needed. A 40 years old is now their president. Look at Burkina Faso. Now their military has taken over. Even their youth are saying yes, we are in support, that we even prefer the military. And look at the kind of achievement that they've been able to attain in that short while. In Nigeria, somebody will come out and write an article. In fact, he will even come out and tell you, up you. Or for them to get a peanut. At the end of the day, how many days can it feed you and your family? Let's learn. The word is enough for the wise. Let us throw our identity as Nigerians. Let's leave our steeds in the mud. Come out and do the right thing. Whenever we say we want to do something, let us know that before any other thing, we were once humans. We are fighting against a common enemy, which is bad governance, which is bad politicians. They don't have anything to lose. We have everything to lose. Our future is at stake. And the earlier we take care of this, the better for us now. Till I see you again. This is my 1 pence. Thank you.